Hey, YouTubers. Thanks for joining. Just give me 1 minute. We're going to get the Instagram live going also. So just hang tight, introduce yourself in the chat. Hey, everyone. Today we're going to go over some F1 visa interview FAQs. We'll wait for our audience to join in. So hang tight. We're going to get started in a second. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll give everyone a few more minutes, maybe a minute or so to join. Welcome. If you're joining us from Instagram, we have a YouTube channel that we're going live on also. And YouTube, if you're on YouTube, we are looking at, or we're also on Instagram. So just going to share that. Good morning, everyone. I see Hip to Be Square. Hi, that's a very good friend of mine. His name is Michael Baum. Uh, did I just dox you? Sorry for that, but I think he'll be okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to go over F1 visa interview questions FAQs, specifically three questions, which are: how will you finance your education? What will you do during your holidays or breaks? And can you tell me about your family? Hi, everyone. So let's get started. First of all, congratulations on your admits. I'm sure your interviews are scheduled soon. Drop in the comment what are your interview dates and which country or what consulate are you interviewing at. And so that'll give me an idea on when or where are you interviewing. All right, so let's dive into it. First of all, let's start with the basic question: how will you finance your education? Now, this is a fairly common question that is asked by the US visa consulate officers. One of the reasons that they ask this question is they're trying to assess how financially stable are you. The more you show financial stability, the more likely you are to get your visa because they feel the less likely you are to immigrate. And as F1 visa is a non immigrant visa, that is one of the things that you, as an F1 visa applicant, need to prove to the US visa officers that you will return to your home country or, at a minimum, leave the United States after completing your studies. So keep that in mind. So going back to the question, how will you finance your education? The answer can be pretty straightforward, but there are different methods to finance it as well. For a lot of folks, their parents or their father or their mother or their uncle, family members sponsor them. So when asked, how will you finance your education? You can simply answer, my father will pay for it, or my mother will pay for it, or my uncle will pay for it, whatever your situation is. A lot of times people ask, what if my uncle is paying for it? Is it high risk? Is it not? It is not a high risk. It is very common, especially in the eastern part of the world where families are pretty close knit, to have an uncle or an aunt or a brother or an older brother, older sister to pay for it. A lot of times it's your parents. So just answer who is sponsoring you or who will pay for education, and you should be okay. Another aspect that comes up is a lot of students have student loans. They may not have a ton of money in savings from their sponsor, but they have a student loan. And that is okay. That is not a risk. That does not reflect poorly, or it doesn't put you at a disadvantage when you interview. So, for example, let's assume there is a student who is going to a visa interview, or rather, who is interviewing, and they have a student loan. Let's say their official fees for the year are $40,000 annually, and they have a student loan for $80,000 total maybe perhaps less. It doesn't matter. But they have a student loan. So when the visa officer asks who will be paying for your education, now if you will always have a sponsor, you will have that sponsor. So you can say, in this case, let's assume that the applicant's father is going to pay for the education. So the visa applicant can say, my father will be sponsoring me. I also have a student loan that I'll be using towards paying for my education. When you do that, that's a perfectly acceptable answer. Keep it short and simple. You don't need to get into a ton of explanation as to your father will be paying this much, the student loan will be this much. If the visa officer is interested, they will ask as a follow up question. So, again, also a good tip, unless it's a why question, just keep your answer short and simple, provide enough context, but that's it. A lot of students make a mistake of over explaining that cuts into the interview time, and that can be negative. So, focus on providing the facts very quickly, but with enough detail. So, again, to recap, if you are paying, if a single family member is paying for your education, you can say, my father, my mother, my uncle is my sponsor, they'll be paying for my education. If you have a student loan, you can supplement by adding, and I have a student loan. If you have a scholarship, always mention that, even if it's a partial scholarship. I think, or we believe, that adds to a lot of advantage. It's proved the students that we've helped with our visa expert services, we've encouraged them to see that, and we've seen positive results because it makes your candidacy look stronger. The reason why a college or a university has given you a scholarship is because you're a very strong candidate, and so when you communicate that to the visa officer, they perceive it as, okay, this person has been given a scholarship. So in this case, you would say, my father is sponsoring or my mother is sponsoring for my education. I have a scholarship of X amount, and I also have a student loan. Depending on your situation, this is just a sample answer. So use it and customize it to your needs. No more than 5 to 10 seconds, not even 10, more towards 5. You can say, my father's paying for my education. I have a scholarship of $2,000, and I also have a student loan that'll use to pay for my education. That's it, and leave it at that. So that's how will you finance your education. Next, let's move to what will you do during your holidays or breaks. Now, this is an interesting question because the visa officer is trying to evaluate how much are, one of the things they are looking for is your close ties to your country. And so, depending on which semester your intake is, this answer can vary because your situation could vary. But at the end of the day, it's very important to share what is your honest answer. We're not asking you to fabricate. In fact, we discourage that. Lying to a US visa officer or misrepresenting yourself can prove to be really disadvantageous. There have been cases when people have lied on their interview, they have faced bans, sometimes lifetime bans. The minimum, uh, at a minimum, your visa will be rejected, and that's not what you want. So, going back to the question, what will you do during your holidays or breaks? Typically, international students who live further away. We'll come back to folks who are in Canada, Mexico, or relatively closer to the US in a second. But let's say you're in Asia. You could be in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, eastern part of Asia. You could be in Africa, Europe. It takes a substantial amount of money and time to travel. And a lot of times students are in a preserve money mode. They're spending a lot of money on their college, universities, and whatnot. So they use the money wisely. We tend to see, once people start working in the industry, their travel goes up. So as a student, what we've observed is, if someone goes in for the fall intake, then they don't typically visit their families in the winter break. That's what, if you're going in for spring, you're going to have your winter break as a big break, and then you're going to have your summer break as another big break. And then you're going to have like Thanksgiving, which is a few days, like a week typically, and also spring break. that is in March or April, depending on which part of the country you are. And so those will be shorter breaks. So when the US visa officers are asking your holidays or breaks, they're not asking for long weekends. They're not necessarily asking for Thanksgiving weekends or spring breaks. They're asking for your winter breaks. They're asking for the summer break. So students who go in for fall typically don't tend to travel to their countries during the winter break. Some do. So if that is you, you can say, and by then you may have planned it. So you can say, I plan on visiting back home during the winter. Or if you've made tentative plans of returning to your country during summer because you're not going to have school, then you can say, I plan to spend summer with my family in whichever country you are. If you're truly not traveling, you can say, you'll have to come up with an answer, because what is your plan? Then you can share the plans accordingly. Another answer is in the winter, like if you're going in for spring, which is typically a January intake, that time you can, if you're going to stay back in summer, you can say, I'm going to stay back in summer. I'm going to take classes if that's what you're doing. If you're going to visit some local relatives in the US, you can say that. Or if you're in the boat that you're going to return to your home country, spend summer there, just say that. So really, there is no right or wrong answer. But if your genuine plans include traveling back to your country, then say, I'm close to my family and friends. And so I'm going to take the summer break. I'm going to take this opportunity to go see them and spend some quality time with them. And that, just in a quick sentence or two, that helps you communicate that you have close ties to your countries. I'm going to take a quick break since we've gone through a lot of things. So let me know in the comment section below, what are some of your questions? And I'm going to try to catch up on some of the questions that have been posted so far. I'm not seeing any questions. If all your siblings are in the US and one has green card, it's not an issue if that's what you're asking. There are plenty of people who have siblings who are either citizens, they are on green card, they are students, they're working. It's all good. US visa officer tend to look at individuals on their own merit. They're not going to penalize one person just because their siblings are in the country. Is having your business a good tie? Yes, it is. You just have to make sure you effectively communicate how your education ties back to that, and how are you gonna come back. Someone asked, when your parents are no more. We've seen that. We've seen that question or that situation come through. It doesn't prove as a disadvantage. You can simply share what your plans are to do after you complete your study, so you can show that your aspirations, specifically when it comes to working or after you complete your studies, lie in your own country or at least outside the US. Someone says the visa officers reject students' visa here in Nigeria because of student loan. That is a myth. Student loan is perfectly acceptable. Pretty much everyone in the US graduates or takes a student loan. It's very common. The reason why people get rejected is because they don't answer the questions effectively. That is what we've seen. They're nervous, or they just don't answer, or worst case we've seen is a lot of Asian countries have these local agents that feed you answers, say, go tell these to the visa officers and you'll get your visa. Biggest mistake one can do, because that is inauthentic. That is not your personal story. So it's very important to prepare well. Talking about which, go check out our YouTube videos. A ton of wonderful content on there that we put out that helps students understand and learn and effectively communicate and get their visas. We also offer personalized visa services to help you prepare your narrative. That's a strategy session followed by a mock visa interview. That really, it's a combination session that we offer. You can go to our website, greencardeasy.com, and then look at expert services up on the top menu, and then you can come down scroll through the page and look at the services. There's a video that we quickly explain what do we offer. So that's there too. All right. Let me see what other questions do we have. I have been rejected in student visa. Now my application has been selected for H-1B visa. Does rejection affect my H-1B? It shouldn't, as long as you answer effectively. All right, let's get back to the third question in interest of time. Can you tell me about your family? Now, a lot of students get super nervous about this. A lot of students get super nervous thinking that having family members or having friends or immediate relatives will affect their chances of getting a student visa. It does not. And by the way, if someone asks, "Can you tell me about your family, or do you have immediate relatives in the U.S.?" Immediate relatives means your parents, your siblings, first cousins, perhaps uncles, aunts. That's all that. And when I say uncles and aunts, that's your dad's brother, sister, mom's brother, sister, right? Not informal people that you call uncles and aunties or aunts. So just blood relatives, one degree of separation, right? First cousins or their parents. Doesn't affect it doesn't negatively affect your chances at all. Your siblings can be in the US. Like I said, they can be students, they can be working on H-1B, or they could be working on CPT, OPT, doesn't matter. They could be green card holders, they could be citizens, does not matter. You are going to be treated on your own candidacy, and that's what you're going to be evaluated on. So when the visa officer says, "Can you tell me about your family?" they're trying to get a sense of what your family dynamics are. And it's a pretty straightforward question. So tell them what it is. You can say, "I have," let's assume someone has their parents and a couple of siblings. So they can say, "We're a family of five. Besides my mom and dad, I have a brother and a sister." Or you can be a little bit more specific. "I have an older brother and a younger sister," just like that. Very short, very simple. No need to get into explanation. No need to get into too much details. They're just trying to understand the dynamics. If they have any follow-up questions, they will ask you that. For example, they could ask, "Do your siblings work in the US or are in the US?" And no, and when they're asking a question like that, they have access to all your file, and essentially, if your siblings or if your parents or if your relatives are in the US, they will have that information. So they're just verifying. They're not they're trying to get an assessment of, are you answering confidently, are you answering truthfully, and that's what they're looking for. Sometimes they're just trying to get to know you. So just answer the question, and that's it, very objectively. And that should be it. Again, a lot of a frequently asked question is, do like I said, does it affect your chances negatively? It does not. All right, those were the three questions I wanted to cover today. Again, I'll take a few questions. So type in your questions in the chat and comments, and I will answer those. Someone has asked, "I have an appointment on August 6th and I don't have confidence and fumble a lot. Forgets everything I want to say." Well, you have to prepare and be confident. It's your story. So if I asked you, "Hey, what city were you born in?" you don't have to memorize that. Or if I said, "Hey, what is your favorite, I don't know, ice cream flavor?" you don't memorize those questions. It's probably nervousness, and you have to prepare well. You have to stay calm. Look at some of our on the interview day series, and if you need personalized help, like I said, we do offer that to help prepare your narrative, and the mock visa interview helps with confidence. So that's there. Go to greencardez.com, and then up top there's visa services or expert services. Also going to take like one or two last questions, and then we'll conclude. And we'll be back again next Sunday, same time. Uh, Everyone saying all the best. Thank you. You're welcome. I think that's it. Uh, I have interview tomorrow morning, 8:20 a.m. in Delhi. Good luck. Well, I hope all of you got value out of this. If you did, let me know in the comment section below that this was helpful. Also, We have a very strong community board. It's at community.greencardeasy.com. Go there, ask your questions. We can answer them if we haven't gotten a chance to answer them now. We're really looking forward to answering everyone's questions. We want to help you succeed. That's why we do this. Again, next Sunday at the same time, we'll do maybe three more questions. I'll share some more information. If you're on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. Ton of content on both channels. Sometimes very different. Instagram is typically short form. YouTube is longer, detailed. So check us out, and be sure to pass our information to your friends. It's part of building a good network and maintaining a good network. That's what helps people succeed. All right, so we will conclude with that. We hope you got a lot of value out of this, and see you next week. And follow us, and we will post content there during the week also. Have a great day, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye, YouTube.